You've been told life is fair if you work hard, stay honest, and play by the rules. But here's the truth. The rich aren't playing the same game. They're using invisible advantages, not illegal, just invisible, to tilt the board in their favor. While you hustle for every inch, they move miles through quiet leverage, unspoken systems, and access you never even see. This isn't about conspiracy, it's about structure. The rich don't just earn money, they position themselves where money flows to them. While you're optimizing effort, they're optimizing environments. While you play clean, they install rules that reward their every move and punish yours without warning. Most people stay stuck not because they're lazy, but because they're trapped inside a game they didn't design. A game where merit feels slow and progress feels random. Meanwhile, the wealthy quietly reinforce the system and make sure it keeps rewarding them. In this video, we'll reveal 15 silent ways the rich rig the system and how you can stop being played. Because until you see the real mechanics, you'll keep thinking it's about talent. It's not. Let's tilt the board back. Let's expose the system. The rich understand one thing deeply. Perception is leverage. They build reputations that do the heavy lifting before they even enter the room. While most people work to prove themselves, the rich work to be assumed valuable. This assumption opens doors, softens negotiations, and raises their perceived competence without them having to say a word. They invest in personal branding, social proof, and associations that broadcast status. Why? Because in a world driven by noise, signal is everything, and the one who controls perception controls the frame. They also master the art of curated presence. The wealthy don't show up everywhere. They're selective, which makes their presence feel rare, and by extension, more valuable. You show up to everything to be noticed. They disappear to be desired. This selective visibility is intentional. It amplifies their mystique and keeps them above the noise. In high-level environments, availability decreases authority, so they play scarce. They don't scream value. They signal it. Another tactic? Strategic silence. While most people over-explain, over-post, and overshare, the rich understand. That silence is a tool. It creates intrigue. It makes people lean in. They let others speak first. They watch reactions before making moves. This restraint makes them appear more powerful, because in any room, the one who talks least often holds the most perceived control. You try to prove you belong. They make others question if they do. The rich also position themselves through proxy credibility. They align with institutions, names, or environments that carry status, even if they aren't the main attraction. That's why you'll find them sitting next to the keynote speaker, not being the loudest in the audience. It's why they speak at curated events, not public panels. They understand that proximity influences perception. If the environment looks expensive, they look successful, even before they speak. You chase approval. They curate association. Let's not forget the aura of authority. The wealthy often dress with intentional simplicity, not because they don't care, but because they're signaling control. Uniforms, tailored basics, and minimalism aren't trends for them. They're psychological armor. When you're dressed sharply and say little, people assume power. Meanwhile, those trying to prove success often signal the opposite: neediness. The rich dress for respect, not attention. And that difference reshapes how every room receives them. Finally, they leverage storytelling, but not their own. Instead of saying, "I'm successful," they let others say it for them. Testimonials, media features, curated introductions, these external voices act as amplifiers. It's a strategic outsourcing of praise. While you try to justify your credibility, they've already embedded theirs into third-party narratives. Because the most effective way to look powerful is to have someone else say you are. The rich don't just work inside systems, they design them. Most people build income. The rich build infrastructure. They create vehicles, businesses, trusts, entities that continue producing long after they've stopped showing up. While others trade hours for money, they trade structure for scale. That's the real game. Not how hard you work, but how many systems are working for you while you sleep. They focus on designing mechanisms that multiply energy, not demand more of it. One powerful system they exploit is ownership architecture. While the average person earns through salary, The wealthy earn through assets. They own the land, the content, the equity, and often, they don't even operate what they own. They structure layers, holding companies, licensing deals, silent, partnerships, each generating streams that look passive but were engineered with precision. That's how they get paid on what others run. And while you're earning once, they're earning in loops. They also build information flow systems. They're not overwhelmed by news, they filter it. Curated newsletters, strategic advisors, private networks, all designed to deliver only relevant, high-leverage information. While you scroll through chaos, they get insight in focused doses. They don't drown in data, they design what reaches them, and that focus translates into faster, sharper decisions, not because they're smarter, but because they've rigged the inputs. Another trick? Delegated cognition. The rich don't remember everything. They build systems of memory, assistants, SOPs, automations, documented thinking. While others rely on willpower and scattered notes, they create institutional memory. Their brain isn't local, it's distributed. This frees up bandwidth for strategy, while others get trapped in logistics. It's not about being brilliant, it's about installing systems that prevent stupid mistakes and multiply smart moves. They even rig time through calendar defense. Most people's time is public domain. The rich protect theirs like royalty. They schedule silence. They batch decisions. They avoid real-time interruptions. Their calendars aren't crowded. They're curated. You say yes to everything and burn out. They say no 90% of the time and gain control. Their schedules are designed to defend clarity and energy, not respond to urgency. And finally, they understand the power of redundant leverage. They build backups for income, reputation, visibility, and even influence. If one business dies, 5 others remain. If one social platform bans them, their audience exists elsewhere. Nothing is dependent on a single channel. This resilience isn't luck, it's premeditated structure. They build fortresses, you build tents, and in storms, the difference is fatal. The wealthy don't chase information, they buy access. Instead of Googling endlessly, they get into rooms where decisions are made, not reported. They attend closed-door events, join elite masterminds, and hire consultants whose insights never reach the public. This is the real advantage. Filtered access to power moves before they become trends. While you hear about opportunities secondhand, they help create them. In this economy, access isn't just influence, it's acceleration. 1. Of the richest moves, exclusive deal flow. Most people see what's available. The wealthy see what's off market. From investments to partnerships, they get offers before the public, or offers that never go public at all. Private placements, founder rounds, land deals, high-end real estate. These don't show up on listings. They show up in conversations. And unless you're in the right room or circle, you'll never even know what you missed. It's not about being chosen. It's about being visible to the choosers. They also guard their access to influence multipliers. Think of media appearances, strategic introductions, or curated endorsements. The rich don't get visibility by accident. They engineer exposure. Publicists, ghostwriters, podcast placements, these are all leveraged to amplify their voice. In the right ears, you're trying to go viral. They're trying to go strategic. They appear where it counts, not where it clutters. Every appearance is a positioned asset, not a cry for likes. Another tactic is relationship stacking. They don't network broadly, they connect deeply and vertically. Each relationship builds toward another level of access. It's chess, not checkers. They ask, who knows what I need? And who influences that person? Then they build bridges upward. Most people network for comfort. The rich network for capability. Their contacts aren't just friends, they're switches. Flip the right one, and new doors open. They also practice scarcity signaling in relationships. They don't reply instantly. They let messages sit. They're not rude, they're deliberate. Why? Because too much access devalues them. By being selective in communication, they elevate their perceived importance. You answer to prove you care. They delay to prove they're busy, even when they're not. It's subtle, but powerful. Perception of value rises when access feels earned. Finally, they build gates. Not walls, gates. They don't hide completely. They just make it harder to reach them without value. Calendars behind assistants, DMs filtered by virtual staff, investment decks only for vetted partners. These aren't ego moves, they're filtration mechanisms. You let everyone in and drown. They filter early. So by the time you reach them, you're already qualified. That's not arrogance, that's leverage. The rich don't just grow wealth, they make it multiply without effort. They do this by embedding multiplication mechanisms in everything they touch. A piece of content becomes a course. A conversation becomes a joint venture. A business becomes a licensing deal. They never do one-to-one. They build one-to-many, many-to-many. This exponential mindset makes every action echo further. Meanwhile, most people repeat tasks manually and wonder why they're stuck in cycles. The rich don't repeat. They replicate with strategy. They also understand capital stacking. When they invest, it's not just about ROI, it's about how many layers of value one move can unlock. For example, investing in a startup might bring equity, board influence, new relationships, and even access to early-stage markets. The move isn't the goal, the stack is. They ask, what else does this unlock? While most look for direct returns, the wealthy rig outcomes through strategic positioning inside layered opportunities. When it comes to protection, they're masters of legal insulation. Trusts, offshore entities, layered ownership. Not to hide, but to shield. They separate personal from business, and business from risk. If one piece burns, the rest survives. This isn't paranoia, it's architecture. They assume attack is inevitable, so they design systems to absorb damage. While others crumble under a single lawsuit or audit, the rich survive and adapt. Their empires aren't fragile, they're fireproofed. They also deploy tax efficiency as a weapon. The average person pays what the system tells them. The wealthy design their income to flow through lower tax structures. They earn through capital gains, not salaries. They defer, deduct, and distribute creatively, all legally, and they hire experts to optimize every move. You earn and pay. They earn and preserve. Over decades, this difference adds up to millions, not because they earned more, but because they kept more. Another multiplication tool? Equity over effort. They don't want high-paying jobs. They want equity stakes. They'd rather own 10% of a rocket than 100% of a bicycle. This is why they join early, why they fund teams, why they trade time for ownership, not just checks. Because effort stops when you stop working, but equity grows while you sleep. While others chase income, they accumulate influence that pays forever. Lastly, they use emotional detachment to make smarter plays. The rich don't panic when markets dip. They don't fear change, they budget for it. Emotional control becomes a financial advantage. They operate on cycles, not feelings. When others are selling in fear, they're buying in blood. Their wealth isn't just built on math, it's built on mental calm. That's what lets them move when others freeze. Not because they're fearless, but because they're structured. The most powerful tactics are the ones you don't even notice. The rich use psychological positioning as a silent weapon. They never look desperate because desperation repels power. Instead, they frame every interaction with a sense of optionality. I don't need this, I'm choosing it. This flips the power dynamic. While others seek validation, they communicate selectivity. People chase what appears in control. And the rich know that how you're perceived emotionally often outweighs what you're offering logically. Another hidden move is long-game thinking. While the world seeks immediate wins, the wealthy build reputations, relationships, and assets that mature slowly but massively. They'll nurture a connection for 5 years before asking for anything. They'll build something small but consistent for a decade, knowing compound impact will arrive. This patience looks invisible to outsiders, but it's strategic delay, not indecision. Most people lose because they trade speed for depth. The rich win because they delay for scale. They also deploy controlled vulnerability. They're not robots, but they reveal flaws strategically. A well-timed story about past failure can disarm, connect, and elevate trust, as long as it ends in triumph. This creates relatability without damaging authority. Meanwhile, others overshare, seeking sympathy and dilute their positioning. The rich script their humanity. You vent. They shape narrative. One builds connection, the other leaks power. Another, invisible tactic, pattern disruption. The rich know most people operate on predictable scripts, so they break expectations. They might underdress at high-end events, remain silent in chaos, or turn down obvious deals. These moves confuse and elevate. People assume power when behavior doesn't need approval. It's not rebellion, it's signal disruption. While others try to blend in, they create memorable friction, and that friction becomes authority. They also lean heavily on intentional mystique. In an age of oversharing, the rich are often less visible, more respected. You don't know their full schedule, their every opinion, their private chaos, and in that distance builds allure. They leave gaps in the story, and those gaps get filled with respect. It's not deception, it's narrative design. You show everything and hope to be liked. They show less and become trusted by default. Finally, they use identity scripting. The wealthy don't just act successful. They embody a version of themselves that commands trust. They speak differently, move differently. They've rehearsed who they are at their best and perform that version until it becomes second nature. It's not fake, it's optimized. While others react to emotion, they act from positioning. Every interaction becomes a message, and every message reinforces their role in the game. Now you see it. The game was never fair, not because it's broken, but because they built it that way. While you followed the rules, they quietly rewrote them. While you tried harder, they moved smarter, and while you played to survive, they rigged the board to win. But here's the real shift. Once you see the mechanics, you stop blaming yourself. You stop thinking you're behind because you're unworthy. You're behind because you're playing fair on a tilted table. That ends now. Because awareness is power, and power lets you build your own leverage. The goal isn't to cheat, it's to see clearly, to play eyes open, to adopt what works, discard what weakens, and build systems that serve you. The rich aren't magic, they're strategic. And now, so are you. Tilt the board back, stack the odds intentionally, and never play blind again.